Hello and welcome. So voting. Voting's compulsory, I'm pretty sure, in Australia, but not in America, Canada, UK, New Zealand. I'd have to double check the list, but anyway, I strongly feel it shouldn't be compulsory. I want, as I put on Facebook recently, I want the right to vote, not the right to have to vote. I don't want to have to vote. And there's a few reasons. So I want to talk about some of the debate a bit. The main reason I think you shouldn't have to vote is that people that do not have a strong opinion or who are not informed, are going to be forced to vote. And then they have to end up picking someone or even just doing a donkey vote. Like that's a problem. Like I was thinking the aardvark, if there's any party name that starts with A, is going to have a bit of an edge, or any party name that has like a funny name that grabs people's attention or sounds good when people don't know anything about it, it can potentially end up getting votes. Of course, some people are going to just do a stupid vote and not vote or draw something rude, potentially, and you can say, well, that's your right, but it's your duty to turn up and do that. But it's inefficient. Why force people to do that? It's completely redundant. One of the reasons so yeah, just to make that clear, I think that creates bias. You now cannot tell if there are people that really sincerely, did lots of research and they passionately feel this person should be voted in, whereas someone else that just walked in like, oh, I gotta vote, I'll vote for this one. I don't want to be a jerk. I don't want to like ruin the process. So that one sounds good, and you cannot tell anymore. You've polluted your information. I think it's far more important to give people that choice. You want to vote, yes or no? An argument given for forcing people to vote is the bias that I think there's a tendency for older people to vote more often in a lot of countries. I don't see any issue with that. I don't see any problem. Like any TV show, any product, some people like it more than others. What's the problem? Let people do what they want to do. I'm just strongly on the side of freedom. The other thing, I don't know. I've got all these thoughts rushing through my head now of, it's like politics seems to all be about power and control, giving power to me compared to other people. That's why it's so important for me to vote, because I want policies that benefit me as opposed to everyone else, or that make society and control other people into what I think it should be. I don't think that works. It should be this way. And anyway, that's another whole thing. But anyway, my point is there shouldn't be any harm in certain types of people voting more than others. I shouldn't be worried that, oh no, all the old people are voting, so all the policies are going to benefit old people. I've actually heard there are slightly dodgy things about compulsory voting. Anyone that gets more than 4% of the vote in Australia, I think they sort of get funded. So that creates a monetary incentive for them to just make as many people vote as possible. That's actually something I don't like about voting in general. I might have to do just another whole thing. This is what I hate about politics. You go to vote and there's all these people giving you pamphlets. All of a sudden there's smear campaigns on TV, like ads authorised by the Australian government, Canberra. Like, so all in black and white, and it's like really negative stuff taken out of context, a really unflattering photo, and then other positive ads just focusing on all the good things and just, I don't know, all these promises that never end up getting kept. And I think everyone knows this. Everyone's aware of this situation, but it keeps happening. It infuriates me, the amount of money that goes into that. So anyway, I guess my problem, that's part of why I don't want to vote. I really don't care. I don't know enough about what's going on. I don't feel it's a significant thing to vote for. Oh, people died for your right to vote. Like, I don't think that's really relevant or got anything to do with it. I want to vote on policies. I can't vote on any specific policies, only on this guy or woman. It could be either, just to run the country or to be in charge. In Australia, it can just change overnight, so that really makes it seem less significant. I've heard other people have brought up other arguments that make no sense, like, what if someone's not, is busy on the day of the vote? Like, I'm saying they should have the right to vote, so if they want to vote, make sure there's a way for them to vote. I also don't get, why is it one day? Why do we do it in person? It's so inefficient. It should be done online. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, what about hackers? Someone will hack and then look, anyone could be in charge. That's the other thing. Like, there shouldn't be such a desire to vote in terms of like gaining power. Like, why would for example, why would a company or someone rich want to control the vote? That seems dodgy, you know? The vote should be something that's quite harmless, that no one particularly cares. If the government's only doing things that benefit everyone, society, then no one should be like, I want to get the vote. It's weird that it becomes a competition, but it's funny because we do all our banking online. You know, is that a major issue? Why would we do banking online if it was so unsafe? Like, that's the thing to me. Millions of dollars, thousands of millions of dollars is transferred every single day, or however much money online, and there's we've got computer technology. It's the 21st century. It's 2016, and we still vote by writing on a big, stupidly large piece of paper with this stupid process. Either tick 10 boxes above the line or 3 boxes below the line, for example. And then there's all these parties you've never heard of before and people you've never heard of before. Anyway, and then you got to vote on a single day. No one tells you. Like, I don't. Maybe it's because I sit under a rock, but I don't watch the news. I hate the news. I also feel it's biased, or it's. I don't know what news stories they're gonna decide to do. If they do Victoria's Secret every now and then, and they do puppy dogs, I lose all respect for the news. It's no longer news. It's just rubbish. It's a complete waste of time. Like, I just want facts and information and context. That's something I wish they would do more, is rather than try to pull your heartstrings. And even the news channels, like, market themselves and say, Channel 7 was there first when all the bushfires were happening. Channel 9 was the first to be there. You know, in 9/11, we had all the best footage. Like, good for you. That's terrible. Why would you brag about that? I don't understand that at all. But anyway, so half the time I don't even know there's an election, whether it's a local one or the federal, whatever, in Australia. I don't even know how politics works in Australia. I really don't care. It just seems to be all control and rubbish and lies, and it seems like a really terrible system. Like, I can't even learn basic economics or politics, and people get like, oh my god, you're so uninformed, it's your right, it's your duty, you need to know. Like as if people that talk about politics all the time actually, like, their opinions actually make sense. Like, there couldn't be any mistake. Because I'm confident there are people that are just always talking about politics, know lots about it, or they don't know anything about history, and then they vote, and it's like based on misconceptions. That's what I feel like I'm learning. So I just also, in terms of that, judging other people, like, you don't, like, I get really frustrated. People haven't seen my age. I'm 31 now. People haven't seen Citizen Kane. They haven't listened to a Beethoven symphony. They don't even know what that is. You don't, like, they're ignorant in other ways, in terms of like broad, like what I see as just long-term culture and like what life is. I think most people are just obsessed with whatever everyone else is talking about, the newest episode of the newest TV show and the latest policies, and like, oh my god, that politician said this or that, and I don't care. It's like this big hive mind. Everyone thinks together, and I want to be an independent thinker, and people are like, oh my, you need to keep up with. Anyway, so my point is, I really don't like the voting process anyway. I'd prefer to vote on specific policies and like actual decisions, not just on this person or this person. Once every 3 years, you have to do it. It's an inefficient system because, we can't do it online because the government is so inefficient. The reason they're inefficient is because they don't pay if they mess up. We pay, the taxpayers pay, and they can, they can palm it off, they can blame things. A company can't afford to do that, and they can blame it on things, but they're losing money. There's no one they can say, get money from afterwards. Again, I don't see any problem with bias. Like, whoever wants to vote, let them vote. Forcing people who might be uninformed or uninterested is wasting their time And like I've got better things to do than walk up and draw something weird or just pick someone and I don't know anything. Even if I make my best effort, it's depressing. It's so depressing getting confused with I don't actually know what they want to do, and I don't actually know if they're true to that, if they're going to follow through with what they've promised. And then if the other party gets it, I mean, I know you shouldn't let that rule it out. Your vote can be worth something. But the other thing, and that big realization I had, is that I've been voting my whole life, right? And I don't mean politically. Anytime you buy something, you're voting with your money. This is the thing. I really like, more and more I really like liberty, the actual meaning of the word liberty, freedom for people. You can buy what you want. You can run a business if you want. You can quit your job. You can get a different job. I know it's not necessarily easy for everyone. Not everything is like set up perfectly. Some people have advantages. There may be issues with that and ways to deal with that. But as much as possible, I think there should be freedom. And people vote all the time. That's why we get all this good stuff. Any TV show that's terrible, no one watches it. And then they have to get rid of it. They can't afford to keep running it. You voted against that show. Any show you watch all the time, you're voting, I like this show, I want more of this show. Anything you buy, anything you choose to do or not to do, you're affecting society in a way. You know, even like with language, with words, if you use a word, a lot of the time you're voting, yeah, I think this word's cool. And if you never use it, you're sort of, in a way, voting against it. You might not call it voting, but it really is the best kind of voting, the real, constant little things that affect society, that help society move in a certain direction or grow. Choosing to be nice to people. If I'm just like, I remember I didn't like discrimination in terms of you playing handball and then a girl comes up and says, can I play? And I'm like, yeah. And then the others, all these kids are like, no, you can't play, you're a girl. And I always found that stupid. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter who someone is. If they're annoying, if there's some issue, bring it up. But let them play. What's the problem? So I think my point was I was voting, let anyone play, and other people are voting, oh, you should do that. Like, the thing with money, when people have to vote with their money, they can't afford to make losses. You have to sort of go with whoever's the most useful, whoever's whoever's willing to pay, you have to accept. Anyway, that's a whole different thing, I think. I think voting is another example of, like, by forcing everyone to vote, you're ensuring that they're all informed. That doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure some polls or studies have shown Australians are not more informed than other countries when it comes to voting and to politics, It's also true, people that are in politics don't necessarily have to appeal to everyone either. Even if we had non-compulsory voting, I guess voluntary voting or whatever it's called, there's still an incentive to make good policies, because who knows, you might actually inspire people like me. If there was a person that I really could get behind and their concepts and ideas, like at the moment I'm thinking I really like libertarianism, like just get the government to stop trying to control things, because my understanding is a lot of government policies cause more problems than they solve, and solving is a misconception in many ways when it comes to problems. But whether my opinion was right or not, or that informed or not, I might decide, I really want to vote. And in fact, I might even want to, use my power. I feel like, do we have to, that's why I think the other form, like capitalism, when you can just buy things and decide what to do with your time, to go to this restaurant or this restaurant, do I decide to go out or not, depending on how expensive it is? Do I decide to go back to some place again or not? Do I decide to make a complaint because the customer service I thought was really bad at some place? I have all these choices, and all these choices in theory should affect things. And I find in capitalism, or any company that's risking money, it's completely in their interest to do a good job and to listen to you and change the way they do things. With government, I don't think there's any incentive. They can just do whatever they want, it seems. They have power. And then, I get once every 3 years, I've got my vote to try and change it. It's ridiculous. So anyway, that's it. I don't see any advantages to compulsory voting. It doesn't guarantee people know stuff. It doesn't ensure that you're actually getting this fair, perfect idea of, unbiased, everyone gets a say. Anyone that wants to have a say can have a say. I'm just saying you have the right. If you want to vote, vote. If you don't want to vote, don't waste my time. Also, send me an email or something. I didn't even know that this voting that a vote's coming up because I don't watch the news. I don't watch the ads. I don't really care. I'm much more interested in political history and economics history and different countries and why did some things work and not just Australian politics. It doesn't necessarily interest me specifically. I don't get why it actually seems like a contradiction why politics is so complicated. I think it's a really bad sign. I don't think science is nearly as complicated, There's such a clarity and simplicity to Newton's laws of motion and even Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. It's a complex theory that's tricky to understand, but it's not like you just can learn it, It's more a matter of different people can explain it. Once it clicks, the concept itself has a simplicity to it. And I think with politics, it's the opposite. It's just constant. Everything's made complex. I don't like it at all. And yeah, just don't make me vote. If I want to vote, I'll vote. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching if you watched. Bye.